Welcome everybody to Perfect Fit Closets. We are today using the 2020 design program by Syncly Company. Today we're going to be talking about editing walls, the heights, colors, and placement zones. And if you have any questions, please do contact us at support@perfectfitcanada.com. All right, so today let's go ahead and just talk about adding our walls first. So we're going to click on the Room Layout tab, click on the Continuous Wall button, and let's go ahead and design 3 walls. Let's make this one 24 inches deep, hit the Enter button, and we're always moving clockwise whenever we're designing walls. We'll make this one 80 inches wide and 24 inches deep once again, and hit the Enter button, and we're going to hit the Escape on our keyboard to get out of it, and we've saved our 3 walls. So first, let's talk about our wall height. To edit our wall properties, all we need to do is right-click on the wall itself. Right now, I've selected wall number 2, but I can click on our properties section and another dialog box appears. I'm going to move this over so everyone can see this a bit better. So we have 3 walls, 1, 2, and 3. Right now, I'm situated on wall number 2, and it's highlighted in green in the background. I can select individual walls, wall number 1, 2, or 3, or I can select the wall group in its entirety, and now I'm selecting all 3 at the same time. If I'd like to change the entirety of all the walls and the wall heights all at the same time, wall group 1 is selected, and I'm going to left-click on the Type tab. I can see that I can change my placement zones, ceilings, and I can change the materials. So this is what we're going to talk about in terms of editing our walls, colors, and placement zones, and so forth. On wall group number 1, to change the height, I'm in the Dimensions tab, and the wall height is sitting at 96 inches. I can now delete this and change it to 120 inches, click on Apply, and now all my wall heights are all at 120 inches. I can select wall number 1, 120 inches, wall 2, and wall 3, all at 120 inches. If I want to change one wall individually, I'll select wall number 1, and now I can change this to 100 inches. Click on Apply and OK, and let's take a quick peek at our render. So I now have 100 inches on the left side, and I have the remaining at the height that I'd like. A question that I get asked a lot is, what if you have sloped ceilings? What if you had an actual ceiling where partially it was one section here, a certain height, and then it's a gradual slope upwards, and it changes? Well, what we can do is right-click on our wall properties. We can select wall number 1 as an example, and let's just say that this wall height is a little lower at 96 inches. We'll click on Apply, and let's say that the room is going to taper, so it's going to grow. We can select the wall number 2. When I select the wall number 2, in the height section in our Dimensions tab, height at a 120 inches, and right here it's checkmarked at Use Same Height for both ends. If I deselect that, I can select this front bar here, and you can see that it's selected now. The green tab is on the left-hand side. If I select it here, I'm selecting this section here. But let's say there's a taper. So if we started here at 96 inches, and it's going to grow all the way to 120 inches. So now this is 96. This is also 96 and growing to 120 inches. And then wall number 3, we want this to also be 120 inches. So we click on Apply and OK. And let's add a little bit of lighting here so everyone can see it. We'll go to my room FUR, also situated at a different video. We'll click our ceiling light and just grab some track lighting here, put it in, and let's look at our render now. So now we have our 96 inches on the left side, tapering upwards all the way to 120 inches. And there is my taper. This one is used quite often, especially for sloped ceilings. The other question I get asked is, what if there is a break. What if I wanted to change it so that the slant and starts at a certain section here? So let's try this again. Let's go 120 inches. Sorry, 24 inches deep. And instead of 80 inches wide, maybe right here at the 20-inch mark, hit enter. And now we're going to continue on to 60 inches. And now 24 inches. And hit the escape. So I essentially have 3 walls, wall 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we're going to group these together. We're going to right-click on our wall, go into our properties, let's move this over. So we're going to keep this wall at 96 inches. We're going to hit the plus button on section wall number 2, so we can change this in its entirety, but we want this small section first. We want to keep that at 96. And wall number 2, this is where I'm going to deselect this use same height for both ends. I'm going to deselect it. We're going to start off at 96 inches right here, and it's going to grow now to 120 inches. Click on apply. And now we're going to go to wall number 3, and we're going to have the height both sections at 120 inches. We'll click on apply and OK. And let's move this lighting over. And let's click on our render. So here's a different situation where I'm going to just remove the actual ceiling so everyone can see. So now we have 96 inches on the left side, 96 inches for 20 inches long, and then a 120-inch slope. So we also see that quite often as well. So we have the 2 types of configurations. So if you ever want to split the wall and the wall starts tapering up or down at a certain height, we're going to have to create one wall with 2 sections. We'll try that one more time to see how that works when I make my 2 sections. So we're going to click on our continuous wall. We'll click on 24 inches deep. We're hit 20 inches wide, plus another 60 to create our 80 inches. And now we're going to hit 24 inches deep again. So again, I'm creating 3 walls, but 2 of them were combined together. It is difficult to kind of edit this section here by adding a small section here. And I always recommend to start over again and create 2 sections per wall. Now that we talked about our wall height, let's change about our wall color. If we right-click on our walls, we'll click on our properties. And we're going to select the entirety of all the walls itself. Underneath material, we have the inside and outside. We can leave the outside because we're not going to necessarily view it. But we also have the inside, which is our drywall. If we click on it, we only have concrete or drywall. So let's just keep our drywall. But right here underneath our finish, we have color, country gray A-340. If I click on the 3 dots in this box, I can now select a different color, such as blue. We'll click on OK. We'll click on apply and OK. And let's go into our render. And this section right here should be in blue. And there is my blue. So we have 2 grays and a blue. Let's try that one more time. We can right-click the wall, left-click on our properties. We're going to select the entire section. We'll click on the material tab. We'll click on the 3 dotted box. And again, we can choose our paint, we can choose carpet, and really we can choose whatever we want. We can choose a pink or red. We can go flat, and we can choose a red, for example. We'll click on OK, apply, and OK, and back to our render. And now this should be changed to red. This works especially great, especially when you're taking care of some high clients there. You really want the sale and you really want to give them the best rendering possible that best matches the exact room that they wish. Next is placement zones. I love talking about placement zones because I like to always add and subtract placement zones when they're especially not in use. Whenever we create a wall, we always have placement zones. So this is wall number 1. connected to this wall. This wall number 2 placement zone for wall number 2, and this wall number 3 placement zone. I always deselect placement zones that are not in use. And the only reason why I like to do this is these lines get confusing on occasion, especially when you're dealing with a lot of walls. So to deselect these placement zones, because we really don't need it, we're not going to put anything on these walls. All I'm going to do to deselect a placement zone is right-click on the wall, left-click on our properties. I'll just move this over. Wall number 1 is selected. I'm going to go into my Type tab, and right here for placement zones, I can deselect the placement zone, and now it's gone. I could always come back in here at any time I'd like and always add in the inside placement zone, or if you're dealing with multiple rooms, we can also select the outside placement zone, especially if we wanted to put something on the outside of the wall here, maybe add a decorative item or some cabinetry there as well. So again, we could always deselect and select. But in this instance, for this closet, I only want wall number 2. That's all I'm going to be using it for. Wall number 2, I'm going to leave that alone. And then wall number 3, I'm going to deselect it. So I'm going to go to my Type tab and deselect the placement zone there. We'll click on Apply and OK. And now we can see it's much, much cleaner. I'm only going to be using the back wall in comparison to these 2 walls. Again, just making it easier for the designer. We'll double click this section here. And now I've got my actual elevation view for wall number 2. If you have any questions regarding wall height, wall color, and placement zones, please do connect with us at support@perfectfitcanada.com.